If you're an entrepreneur, you're someone who's trying to start your business venture, um, especially when you're just a single person or, a very, very tiny team, you're probably looking for some way to do your branding that's quick, that's fairly easy to manage, and probably low cost on top of that. Those are all things you probably care a lot about. So, I'm a professional designer and I've been doing brand design for over 10 years. And you might think that I would tell you that you should, put a ton of work into your branding and really make it special and beautiful and all these things. And while I do believe very, very strongly in the power of branding, I think putting a lot of effort into branding can be incredibly useful and is sometimes basically the only reason a company is successful. But I don't necessarily think putting a lot of money and time and effort behind branding at different stages of a company actually makes sense. Your money can often be spent better elsewhere. And if you're someone who's just starting out, you're really just trying to get something into existence, I don't necessarily think that you should be asking someone like me to help you. Now, someone like me could probably get you something better than you might be able to find on Fiverr or, using AI or whatever. It'll be more effective, it'll be better, but I don't necessarily think that is a good thing to do at this stage. And the reason I say that is when you're first creating something, you don't even really know what you're doing. You might not have a product built, you might not have really that much to show. And because you're still so early, there's probably a lot of changes that are going to happen as you start building or making whatever product or service you're trying to offer. What you think you are and what you will end up being as things start moving is going to change. So investing a lot of time and effort into your brand at this stage doesn't make sense. You're gonna have to change it. That's almost inevitable. The caveat to all this is that you still need to have something that people can help remember you by, and that something needs to feel professional in your current chosen market, whatever that means. Those things can look very different. So, starting a streetwear brand versus, starting an investment firm, what professional looks like in those spaces can be super different, right? So if you're just starting out, you're just trying to build your Etsy business, you're just trying to, launch some product, some service, you want to go out on your own as a contractor. If you're just trying to build that first thing, go to Fiverr, use AI, you can do it yourself. Get, your little cousin who likes to play around with Photoshop or Canva or whatever. I have some ethical issues with the whole, AI just taking other people's art and using that to generate other things. Like that, I don't like, of course, but I do know that people are still going to use it. So in this scenario, if that's what you want to use, I'm certainly not going to be the one to stop you. The most common thing that someone who's really just starting out is trying to do is probably get a logo and then maybe a website. That's typically the key first things that people want. What I want you to do in order to figure out your first stage of branding is think about how you're trying to present yourself now, think about your industry, and think about some key current brands that are probably in your industry, but if they're not, that's also okay too. Think about 3 brands that feel similar to your product or service or just the way you want to present your company. Let's say you're looking for a logo. Think of those 3 brands, look at their logo, just grab those 3, that's it, and look at those and see kind of the similarities between them. Look at the colors, look at the fonts they're using, look at the marks they're using if they have one, and see if there's anything in common. What you can do with that is you can then go to your person on Fiverr, you can plug those things into AI, and you can use those 3 things to help guide, both the AI or the designer you're working with to build you something. So now, will that thing be the most perfect, beautiful, amazing thing? Like, probably not, but it will probably be good enough. And I think that's actually all you want or need at this stage. Don't be afraid to sort of let your personal preferences into this. If you love the color purple or love the color green, great, make the logo green. That's fine. You don't really need to overthink it at this stage. It's good to look at your industry, see if there's kind of a common thread. Those are things that you might want to bring in. The main thing I want you to do when you're thinking about just getting a basic branding system off the ground is look at your current industry and look at what do the professionals do? How do they present themselves? What do their logos look like? What colors do they use? What types of fonts do they use? Look at those basic things. And I think the main thing you want to do is kind of try to fit in with them, because what you're trying to do with your first clients, your first customers, is you just want to signal in their head what type of business you are. So are you a law firm? Are you a tech company? Are you trying to sell shoes? How do people look at a logo or a website and instantly know what type of product or service it is? What are the cues that tell them that this is a tech company, that this is a lawyer, that this is a place that sells shoes? Think about that and then just do whatever that standard thing is. Don't overthink it. Just make sure that your client or customer can see that like very, very quickly. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Go with something basic, and feel free to tell all these things to, the person on Fiverr or Upwork or your cousin who's helping you with Canva. That's all you really need to get started. There will be plenty of time to go back in once you have nailed down your product or service, once you've really gotten, your first clients and gotten feedback and improved whatever thing you're making. Where you're going might end up being very different from where you start. And as that changes, as that evolves, there is very key points where you can invest in branding and kind of get something that stands out in your industry, that communicates exactly what you do or how you do it very, very well. You don't need that at this stage because you don't necessarily know who you are yet. You don't know what this company is. You're still learning. So don't invest in the branding now. Get something that's good enough, that is clear enough to the people you're trying to talk to at this point, and worry about the rest later. I hope that helps people who are just starting out, and I hope that makes this feel a little less intimidating. I think people who feel like they're not creative or feel like they don't have any design skills, might feel like they have to have something perfect and that they don't really even know what that means. Don't sweat it. Just have something that's good enough that'll get you out the door. And there's plenty of time to talk to someone who has more expertise or get more involvement, build out something perfect. You can do all of that later. So the thing I want to happen is I want you to get started. I don't want the design or the logo to be the reason you don't launch whatever thing you're trying to do. The reason that you don't start your project because you feel like you're not professional enough. I don't want that to be the thing that holds you back. Hopefully this helps you have an approach that's fairly quick, fairly cheap, and will get you good enough so you can actually get started, because that's really what's important. There's plenty of time to be perfect later. I hope this advice is helpful. I'd love to hear if you're kind of in this stage of launching something, or if you have an experience where you sort of invested in branding too heavily, too early, and then had to basically redo it all. I'd like to hear about that too, because I've certainly been the designer working on those projects before. Best of luck with launching your thing. I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.